Hey guys, I'm going to give you a brief tutorial on Django forms in django-mako-plus. So a couple things before we get started. Form classes are normally stored in a forms.py file, which contains all of your forms for your app or your project. But because django-mako-plus separates views into individual files, we can do this directly into the views, and that's what we're going to be doing for this tutorial. And the next thing to note is we're actually going to be following a tutorial on our training website. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So the first thing that we need to do for our form is import forms from Django. This imports the default form class. So from Django imports form or import form. And then we also need to import our blog model. So from homepage.models, import blog. All right, so with blog and forms, we should be able to save data from a form into our blog object that we created in an earlier tutorial. So here is our blog form. We have three fields in it: author, title, and body. And each of these have different attributes. They're all char fields. There are other fields that you can use inside of your projects, but for these purposes, char fields are all we need. But yeah, the char field for author of blog has an attribute of required equals false. You can see a label there, and by default, these inputs are all required. So if you do not want these fields to be required, if one of these fields does not need to be required, you will need to put in required equals false there, or else you'll get an error. Or, of course, if you have that in your HTML, it won't submit. But yeah, max length is 250 characters for this field. Text input is, it's going to be, our widget is forms.text input. And then our attributes here, we have a class called form control. And I've also imported the Bootstrap library for this project. So form control is one of the fancier Bootstrap form input classes. So yeah, we have a input here with the class form control. And title is basically the same thing. Body is a little different. It has a max length of 10,000 characters. The class is form control, but you can see our widget here is text area, and that's going to render us a text area as opposed to just a single text input. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is work with the data that's been inputted into this form. So in our process request, first thing that we're going to do is import all of our blogs. You can see I import all blogs here, and I inject that into our context, and we're going to create a for loop for those, just so we can make sure that our blogs are saving correctly. Here we have a form, and it's equal to blog form, which is defined up here. You can also initialize this form with data, but because we don't have any data right now in our database, and because we're going to be using this this specific form to create new blogs as opposed to editing blogs that have already been created, we're just going to keep that blank for now. So if we get a post request from this page, we're going to post all the data to our form. And if that form is valid, we are going to clean the data and then save it. So that's basically what this does. We're going to create a blog instance. We're going to say b.author. So our author inside of this instance is whatever they put inside of the author field. So you do form.cleandata.get, whatever the name of the field is, and that will clean it. And from there, you can save that information. I also have date in here. That's just going to be datetime.today. And it's going to save that and redirect us to /submitted when we post that. So yeah, before I show you how that works, one more important thing. So this is how the HTML this is how you can render the HTML for the Django form. So here I have a form with a method equal to post. I have my CSRF token. You have to have a CSRF token if you have the CSRF middleware active inside of your project. And after that, you can see form right here. This is going to create all of our inputs for this form dynamically based on what we have inside of our blog form instance right here. And yeah, we can see I've injected that directly into our context. Right, so now that we've done this, we have to have a button that actually submits this, or a function that actually submits that. So for this, we just have a type equals button. And obviously this is a very simple form. There are more complex forms that we could get into and go over in a later tutorial. But this is just going to be a very basic overview of what our what the form does. So yeah, we have our method equals post on our form, our CSRF input, our fields for a form, and our button that submits the form. And with all of that, we should be able to create our blog. So this is how it looks on the front end here. We're going to go ahead and say it's John Doe. Title is Django Forms. And because we have the space, we have up to 10,000 characters. We'll just go ahead and paste a whole bunch of that in there and click submit. All right, and you can see I did not import HTTP response redirect. Click fix. Up here inside of our imports, we're going to say from Django HTTP import HTTP response redirect. And now that is there, we can go ahead and continue. You can see it duplicated it because I actually submitted it twice. Yeah, it's working now, and this gives us our date, our author, and the actual blog content there as well. And I can do this again quickly. And submit that, and you can see I have another blog instance right there. So yeah, that's the basics of Django Forms. You can see I'll go over this really quickly too. Iteration for all blogs. So for X and all blogs, we've displayed the title, the author, the date. That's pretty simple. Obviously, I can style that up a little more. And speaking of styling, if you want even more control over your styling and you don't want to have to sort of use the regular import form tag with Django, that as well, just by adding in just the regular HTML input tag, and then the name of the field, the name attribute within the field has to be whatever you called it inside of the form here. So in this case, I have name equal author, and here I have author within our form attributes. Same for title, same for body. All right, so this should look the exact same as what we just had. It's essentially copied and paste, but if I wanted to, I could separate divs, for loops for model choice fields, and basically just do whatever I need to styling wise directly inside of the HTML input tags, and we can go ahead and test that now. You can see it looks exactly the same. And I can go ahead and type in some random stuff. And you can see All right, so that is the basics of forms. Just to reiterate what we went through, in HTML, you can specify the data that you would like to send to the server via post request in an input field with the name attribute, i.e. name. So in this case, I would have that field called name inside of my form, and then I could clean that data with this function, and from there we can save that to the database. All right, so that was our brief tutorial on Django Forms. Hope you enjoyed.